December 27th, 2025. A man is found under a bridge on Archer Road in Gainesville, Florida. Severe head trauma. Blood everywhere. And here's the thing that makes this case absolutely chilling. The woman he went on a romantic Christmas cabin trip with, she never called 911. She wasn't there when he was found. And when he got to the hospital, nobody even knew his name. This is the story of Tyrone Davis Jr. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to have more questions and answers. But before we dive deep into this mystery, if you're new to Crime Files, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and smash that bell icon so you never miss a case like this. We cover the stories that need to be told, the ones that demand justice. All right, let's get into it. So who is Tyrone Davis Jr.? And I think this is important because the media loves to just throw out facts and statistics. But this was a real person with a real life. Tyrone, or as people called him, DRO T2, Stepdaddy DRO. He wasn't just another statistic. This man woke up every single day with a purpose. He was a father. He was a trucker. But more than that, he was someone who motivated people. I'm talking about a guy who would post videos every morning with his signature phrase, "You feel me?" His whole thing was morning motivation. Hashtag morning motivation Whitro. That was his brand, his life, his purpose. He wanted to wake people up, not just literally, but mentally. Get them ready to tackle the day, to be better, to push through whatever struggles they were facing. Think about that for a second. Here's a man who spent his time trying to lift others up, a trucker who traveled the roads, probably saw all kinds of things, met all kinds of people, and still chose to spread positivity. His friends and family describe him as someone with routine, with love, with dedication. He wasn't out here causing trouble. He was a man who worked hard for his kids, for his future, for his dreams. And here's what gets me. Tyrone had already been through so much pain in his life. His mother, Rena Demps, she's already buried 3 of her sons. Can you even imagine that? 3 sons. And Tyrone was her last one. Her baby, the one she probably held on to a little tighter, prayed for a little harder, because she couldn't bear to lose another child. But on December 25th, 2025, Tyrone decided to do something special. It was Christmas, time to celebrate, to create memories, to enjoy life with someone he cared about. He planned a romantic getaway at a cabin with his girlfriend, just the 2 of them. A chance to escape the daily grind, enjoy the holiday season, and spend quality time together. Sounds perfect, right? A cabin, Christmas, someone you love. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Absolutely everything went wrong. Because 2 days later, on December 27th, Tyrone Davis Jr. wasn't at that cabin anymore. He wasn't enjoying hot chocolate by a fireplace. He wasn't laughing with his girlfriend. He was under a bridge on Archer Road, barely clinging to life, with a fractured skull and severe blunt force trauma to the back of his head. Now, let me ask you something. How does a romantic Christmas cabin trip end with a man dying under a bridge? Because that's the question everyone's asking, and nobody seems to have a straight answer. The Gainesville Police Department, they come out and say, "Oh, it's tragic, but not suspicious. He jumped out of a moving vehicle. Just jumped right out while his girlfriend was driving, hit the pavement, cracked his skull, and that was that. Case closed in their minds." But hold on. Let's think about this logically for a second. Why would a man, a father, someone who motivates people every single morning to keep going, to keep fighting, why would he just jump out of a moving car? What possible reason would he have? The police want us to believe this was some kind of accident or maybe a mental breakdown. But here's where things start falling apart. The hospital staff, the actual medical professionals who examined Tyrone's body, they told his family something completely different. They said his injuries were not consistent with jumping out of a moving vehicle. They said it looked like blunt force trauma, the kind of injury you get when something or someone strikes you with significant force. And get this, it gets worse. The family was told 3 different stories about what happened. First, they're told he jumped out of a moving car. Then someone says he slipped and fell at a gas station. Then there's talk about him being found under a bridge. Which one is it? Because all three of those scenarios would create completely different injuries, completely different evidence, completely different investigations. But here's the part that should make your blood run cold. When Tyrone was rushed to the hospital, fighting for his life, he was admitted as a John Doe. A John Doe, like he was some stranger off the street with no identity, no family, no one who cared about him. His family, his mother who had already lost 3 sons, she didn't get a call for 24 hours. 24 hours. Where was his girlfriend during all of this? The woman he went on this romantic trip with, she didn't call 911. She didn't stay with him. She didn't make sure the hospital had his information. According to the family, she left him on the side of the road and disappeared. Now I want you to put yourself in his mother's shoes for just a moment. Your son goes on a Christmas trip. You're probably happy for him, right? Thinking he's out there making memories, enjoying life. Then you get a call. Not from him, not from his girlfriend, from a hospital. And they're asking if you know a John Doe who might be your son. Can you imagine the panic, the confusion, the absolute terror of not knowing what happened to your child? And when Rena Demps finally gets to that hospital, finally sees her son, he's got a fractured skull, blunt force trauma to the back of his head, the kind of injury that makes you ask questions, the kind of injury that doesn't match up with a simple fall, or even jumping from a car. 2 days later, on December 29th, 2025, Tyrone Davis Jr. died, and his last words to the world, to all his followers, to everyone who knew him, were still echoing, "You feel me?" But now his voice was silenced forever, and the people who loved him, they're left with more questions than answers. So let's talk about what we know for sure, because in cases like this, we have to separate facts from speculation. Fact: Tyrone went on a Christmas cabin trip with his girlfriend. Fact: 2 days later, he was found under a bridge with severe head trauma. Fact: he was admitted to the hospital as a John Doe. Fact: his family wasn't notified for 24 hours. Fact: his girlfriend, according to family members, didn't call for help and wasn't with him when he was found. Now, here's where the community started getting involved, because this wasn't just sitting right with people. You got a man who's all about positivity and motivation, suddenly dead under mysterious circumstances, and the police are calling it not suspicious? That didn't add up for thousands of people. A petition was started. Uncover the truth behind Tyrone Davis Jr.'s tragic death. And you know what? Over 3,000 people signed it within weeks. 3,000 people who didn't even know Tyrone personally, but they could see something wasn't right. They could feel it. The petition laid out everything the family was questioning. Why were there multiple stories about what happened? Why do medical reports show injuries inconsistent with the official police explanation? Why was there a 24-hour delay in notifying family? Who was the person he was with? And why didn't they stay with him or provide his identity? On January 17th, 2026, something powerful happened. Dozens of people showed up on Archer Road, right where Tyrone was found. They wore shirts with his face on them. They held signs demanding justice. They stood together in the cold on the side of a busy road because they believed this man deserved better than to be forgotten, better than to have his death swept under the rug as just another tragic accident. And social media? It exploded. TikTok, YouTube, everywhere you looked. People were talking about Tyrone Davis Jr. The Chronicle Speaks got the police audio and started breaking down every detail. Jesse Wu covered the case extensively. This wasn't just some local story anymore. This was national attention, because people could sense that something was very, very wrong. Then on February 5th, 2026, something happened that broke everyone's heart. Tyrone's mother, Rena Demps, stood up at a Gainesville City Commission meeting. And I want you to really hear what she said, because this is a mother who has already buried 3 sons, standing in front of city officials, begging for answers about her last child. She said, "I'm just trying to find out what happened to my son. I need justice. I need to know what really happened. I'm calling around trying to find out things, but nobody is giving me an answer. I've lost 3 of my sons. He was my last. Nobody will get back into contact with me. People are telling me different stories of what happened, but I'm his mother. I need to know what happened. Let that sink in. A mother, who has already experienced the worst pain imaginable 3 times before, is now standing in front of strangers, pleading for someone to just tell her the truth about what happened to her baby. She's not asking for revenge. She's not demanding someone go to jail without evidence. She just wants answers. She just wants to know what happened to her son. And you know what the mayor said? He told her he couldn't imagine what she was going through, and that someone from the city manager's office would speak with her. That's it. That's all she got after pouring her heart out. Meanwhile, the girlfriend, Kira Davis, she released a statement through a friend. She said she was heartbroken, that she had no part in his death, that Tyrone was the love of her life. But here's what's interesting. She released a statement through a friend, not directly. And the family, they're calling for her to be arrested. They believe she knows more than she's saying. They believe she's responsible. Now, I'm not here to accuse anyone of anything. We don't have all the evidence. We're not the police. But what we can do is look at the facts we have and ask the questions that need to be asked. Why are there so many inconsistencies in this case? Why did the person he was with not call 911? Why was he admitted as a John Doe when someone knew exactly who he was? Why do medical professionals say his injuries don't match the official story? And most importantly, why isn't there a full investigation into a death that has this many red flags? Tyrone's father said something that really stuck with me. He said, "All I really want is answers to what belongs to me. I'm not asking for no GoFundMe, no money, no nothing. I just want candles and prayers and answers. Just answers. That's all this family wants." So here's what I want you to think about. What happens when the system fails to protect someone? What happens when a family is left begging for basic answers about their loved one's death? What happens when the official story doesn't match the evidence? But nobody seems to care enough to dig deeper. Here's my question for you, and I really want you to think about this. If someone you love died under these circumstances, with as many inconsistencies, with medical evidence that contradicts the official story, would you accept not suspicious as an answer? Would you be okay with your loved one being admitted as a John Doe while the person they were with disappeared? Would you be satisfied with 3 different explanations for what happened? I don't think you would. I know I wouldn't. And that's why cases like this matter. Because Tyrone Davis Jr. was someone's son, someone's father, someone who woke up every day trying to make the world a little better. And he deserves the truth. His family deserves the truth. We all deserve the truth. If you believe this case needs more attention, if you think this family deserves real answers, then I need you to do something right now. Hit that like button so this video reaches more people. Subscribe to Crime Files because we're not going to stop covering cases that demand justice. Share this video. Post it on your social media. Tag people who need to see this. Because the only way cases like this get solved is when enough people refuse to let them be forgotten. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think happened. Do you believe the official story? Do you think there's more to this? What questions would you be asking if you were investigating this case? And to the Davis family, if you're watching this, please know that thousands of people are standing with you, demanding answers, demanding justice for Tyrone. We hear you. We see you. And we're not going to let his story be forgotten. Rest in peace. Tyrone Davis Jr., you feel me? We feel you. And we're going to keep fighting until the truth comes out.